welcome back to Nintendo Prime. We have a bunch of Switch 2 stories to go over today, including one thing that I didn't think I was going to end up doing today. We got to correct some misinformation that might have been spread. It's kind of a weird story. It comes from Gamers Nexus, and yes, it has to do with Nintendo Switch 2, and they usually do a really good job with their research, and this time around, maybe they should have went a little deeper. We'll dig into it, and somehow I'm dragged a little bit into the story. Kind of weird there. Beyond that, we also have some updates on sharing screenshots and all that stuff on social media, on your phone, from the Nintendo Switch 2. We also have some updates regarding the ability to buy Nintendo Switch 2s on launch day, and so much more. So I'm really excited to get into this, but first I got to remind you, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2, two of them, in fact, the Mario Kart World bundles. All you got to do to enter is go down into the pinned comment or the description, click on the link, enter absolutely for free. You just need your email to enter. There's some additional ways to enter as well, but to enter, you just need to put your email in. We have to have a way to get a hold of you. We'll be drawing the winner about 10 days before the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out. All right, let's slow things down a bit here so you can understand the news, and let's dive right into this first story posted over by Genki. No, not that Genki, this Genki, just a user over on X. Again, not the company. Switch 2 will allow you to transfer screenshots and videos saved to your Switch 2 album to the My Nintendo app on your phone, similar to what you can do with the PlayStation app. No more strange QR codes to get screenshots off your Switch console. This is actually just really good news in general. Nintendo did get rid of some of the social sharing features on the Nintendo Switch, especially with like X, because they didn't want to pay the licensing fee to get access to the API. But with it being transferred over to your phone through the app, one, that gives the app additional uses, and two, it makes it really easy to share it on any social media network you want, and the fact you don't got to use like a QR code to do it. So I do like this. This is obviously a really nice upgrade. I wish that they would just like toss this in on Switch, but you know what? Hey, it's on Switch 2. We'll take it. It's an upgrade. We're happy about that. Now, what we're also going to be happy about is dealing with how to get a Nintendo Switch 2 on day one. Look, guys, I know that it's hard to get pre-orders right now. They're pretty much sold out. I don't think anywhere really has any units available, and there might not be any more additional waves. That doesn't mean you can't walk into your local Walmart and other places on day one. I just want to throw this story out here quick. I talked to somebody who works at Target. I've now had multiple people from Target reach out to me. This appears to be just true across the board. Target's getting a bunch of units on launch day. I just want to throw that out there. They're getting a bunch of units. Go ahead and remember, like in-store pickup is what you need to do for this. Online order for in-store pickup. I just wanted to bring that up again just to remind people, hey, there's still opportunities out there to get Nintendo Switch 2s on day one, even if you don't have a pre-order. Now let's talk about something that's actually new and really cool, and it's probably going to lead to Nintendo customizing Joy-Cons in the future. So store listings suggest Switch 2 Joy-Cons might be customizable. For starters, they are customizable. You can take any removable part of a shell off and put whatever you want on. People reshell their Joy-Cons all the time, but that's not what they mean. They're talking about this outside part here. So a new store listing on AliExpress suggests that the new Switch Joy-Con might be customizable, which again, you're just replacing one of the components. So I don't know if I call that customizable. That's just replacing one of the components with something else. Highlighted by Stealth 40K on Blue Sky, a listing from electronics dropshipping store shows that the side panels on both Joy-Con can be removed and replaced with different colors. Now, removed and replaced, obviously, they're covering screw holes. You can see here, when you take it, obviously a screw hole here and a screw hole here. These are obviously plates that you have to remove if you want to open up your Joy-Cons, so that's why these are there. We know that these are usually black, but yeah, this is kind of cool. Nintendo will probably do custom colors and stuff like this in the future down the line. Right now, they're just black, but yeah, I mean, look, this is true of anything. You can also reshell the back and reshell the front and change out the control stick and change out the buttons. You can customize any of this stuff. It's just a matter of them being made. And it's an interesting concept. I think it's probably worth stressing that Nintendo hasn't mentioned anything about it, which again, these probably aren't intended to be customized by third parties, but of course they can, just like you could reshell things. So yeah, this is pretty cool. It obviously adds a bit more splash of color if you're interested in something like that. To me, I'm not going to really be customizing my launch Joy-Cons like that, but I understand why some people might want to do it. Some people might even plan to reshell them day one. There might already be third-party shells out there that exist. You know, people like to customize things as much as they can. This next bit is interesting because this is the part we're talking about. The big story today. We're dealing with Gamers Nexus. Now, I really look up to Gamers Nexus. He is a big inspiration for my channel, even though he comes from a different space. He comes from the tech world. But when that tech world crosses over into talking about Nintendo, we pay attention because we want to make sure that Nintendo's being covered correctly. opinions aside, we want to make sure the facts are straight. And something was said in his hardware news video yesterday that, look, I'll give him credit. They label it as a rumor, but it's, man, they should have did a little bit more digging on this. So let's go ahead and dive in. You can see the video over here. I got it zoomed in a bit so you don't see the Gamers Nexus. But yeah, see, 23 hours ago, 240,000 views. So a lot of views on this. And let's just go ahead and listen to what Gamers Nexus had to say about the Switch 2 and the spec leak thing.
Headquarters. Speaking of the Switch 2, a user on Twitter got hold of one and did a disassembly before the post was taken down. The post was made by Colonel Salt on Twitter with the teardown, and the information was caught by notebookcheck.net, with the publication writing the Nintendo Switch uses NVIDIA's Tegra T239 SoC. It comes with an ARM Cortex-X1 core, 3 Cortex-A78 cores, and 4 A55 cores, combined with a custom Ampere-based GPU. Next to it, we can see what appear to be 2 LPDDR modules. The publication continued to say, quote, "It also shows a 256GB UFS 3.1 module from SK Hynix and what could be a Wi-Fi chip from MediaTek," end quote. And finally,
So the problem there has to do with the CPU stuff. They said some CPU things that don't seem to be true and are completely unsourced. What are we talking about? Well, first off, let's look at his source here, Notebook Check. As you go down here, you do see this stuff is listed. The ARM Cortex-X1 core, 3 Cortex-A78 cores, and 4 Cortex-A55 cores. Now, the way this is listed, because there's no sourcing here, you know, the source is that deleted tweet that doesn't exist anymore from this Colonel Salts person. They seem to be implying that Colonel Salts said this about the system, but I don't think that he did. In fact, there's not really any evidence that he did. We have another article on this exact same thing here, going back to April 24th. Say Switch 2 teardown confirms NVIDIA Tegra 2 T239 chips. And you'll see down here, again, that we're talking about this Colonel Salts person. Now, the reason I bring this article up is it actually shows some images that Colonel Salts shared. Nowhere in these images does it actually say the CPU is those 3 different CPUs combined. So it doesn't actually say this in the image provided by Colonel Salt, nor does it say it here in the image. So I wanted to bring this up because the tweet has been deleted, but these were images from that tweet. And again, there's nothing in here that says those specs about the damn CPU. Despite that, it's listed here again, the ARM Cortex-X1 HP core, 3 Cortex-A78 performance cores, and 4 Cortex-A55 efficiency cores. Again, there's actually no reference point in here that he said that. Now, the person they're talking about is this Colonel Salts person. They are actually Chinese. I did reach out to them privately to try to get some information, but unfortunately, they haven't responded. I even sent the message in Chinese because they note that they are not a very fluent English speaker. But this is where things get really interesting. As we go over here, you're going to see that they were talking about this here on the GameFAQs forums. And this person here says, Krudel never mentioned anything about the CPU being 3 different core types in their Telegram group chat. A user by the name of Zhao Shengyu took their post and added false info. Besides, there's no point to having that odd configuration for a game console. It's not a smartphone that needs efficiency cores. The very nature of having those 3 types requires at least 2 clusters, and the Linux commit specifically mentioned how the T239 has a single cluster designed for the CPU cores. This is actually true, and you can fact check it. Not to mention, NVIDIA leaks state it only has 1 CPU type. So nothing seems to be matching up, and it seems to be that through the Telegram conversation, this all got confused. Worse yet, if you copy paste that CPU information with the T239, put it in the Google, the earliest I can find it being mentioned is this article right here back on January 2nd, 2025. In here, it talks about the T239, the 2023, and it talks about the leaked motherboard image. For some reason, it brings up my name. Nintendo Prime shared more details about the chip. And for some reason, the details they claim I shared was an ARM Cortex H1 HP core, 3 Cortex A78P cores, and 4 Cortex A55E cores with an ARM Dynamic IQ hardware-based scheduler. That is not what I said. Now, he's got 3 different sources here, this Reddit, my Twitter, and video cards. So why don't we go ahead and look at those 3 sources. First, since they mentioned me directly in the article, why don't we look at what I posted? Here you can see the motherboard leaks, and here you can see what I said. Switch 2 T39's chip specs, 12 SM, 8 A78 C cores. Nowhere in there do I mention anything about about any of that. Okay, maybe one of the other sources. Maybe one of those other sources mentioned it. Here's another one they linked to. Oh, it's just the picture of the motherboard. It's just the source of all the images in their article. Okay, so that's obviously not it. So maybe it must be that last one. That very last source that they have, the video cards website. That must be it. Let's go ahead and look at the video cards website. So here we go. Switch 2 with NVIDIA SoC confirmed. All right, we're going down here. We see the T239 featuring all the CUDA cores. We see here the SK Hynix LPR, the RAM here with visible heat shielding around the memory and CPU, USB-C port. Oh, look, there's no mention in here of what it is, except you get down to here the rumored console specs. And the rumored console specs for the SoC, let's see, we got 12 gigabytes of LPDDR5X 7500, T239. Oh, look, the CPU is not listed. But I thought it was these things, these three combos. That's right. This story came out of nowhere and it seems to be completely fabricated. There does not seem to be any evidence suggesting that there are three separate different CPUs all working together. That is something you sometimes see on phones. That is not, again, not something that you typically see on an APU-like device for a gaming device. On top of that, we go all the way back to this article long time ago by Eurogamer, Digital Foundry, and all that. You'll see mention of the T239 and all this stuff. And in this article, they talk about the A78C CPUs. So I honestly don't really know what we're talking about and why this is even becoming a story. Obviously, the reason it's becoming a story is because they're reporting something different than what is actually there and kind of inferring that that's what the kernel person said. Now, as an update to this, I did some even deeper digging. It turns out that Chinese person is a content creator who does do like board breakdowns and big deep dives, and he apparently has a Switch 2 that he has broken down. Don't know how he got it. He's in China, not my problem. But he's dropping a video later this week, maybe as early as Wednesday, doing a full teardown of the system and a full examination of things. I don't know if that's going to include x-rays of the die or anything like that. That would be actually be wonderful if we can get an x-ray of the actual die. That would let us know exactly what's going on inside it. But the point is that this is just kind of a story that I noticed on a hardware video from Gamers Nexus that I'm like, wait a second, where the hell did this information even come from? Because it did not come from the person that the article kind of claims it came from. So, and it's kind of weird to see my name brought up as a reference for it when that's not what I said in my tweet. So I literally think that this just got made up at one point. Some people started believing it. This is actually spread onto multiple websites since January. It's all over the place. People are now starting to think, oh no, it's not A78C cores. It's now something else, even though the kernel for the actual system denotes that it only has one CPU cluster. That one CPU cluster is going to be those 8 cores. I literally don't know what the hell's going on here. Misinformation runs rampant, even in the speculative realm of what the specs are, because we don't even know what the final specs are. We don't know exactly. We'll know on launch day. There'll be die shots and other things, and we'll get dev documents out there and stuff, but misinformation, man. Again, I'm not too mad at Gamers Nexus this time because they're just relying on another website being able to do their job, and he didn't really hammer home or slam Nintendo over it, or he just brought up that it was a story. His Gamers Nexus team, if you happen across this video, just make sure when you're digging into Switch 2 stuff like this, there's a long trail of coverage of the Switch 2 specs and the stuff behind the scenes. Make sure you follow that trail to try to get as accurate of information as you can. When you see my name brought up and stuff, don't just believe the stuff I say. Dig deeper, find out where this information originated. Realize that the kernel itself does not agree that there's these 3 different types of CPUs. So anyways, let me know what you think about this stuff down in the comments below. That's a bit more of a milder correction, because again, we don't actually know what the final specs are, but we know it's not a 3 separate CPU kind of thing working together like a phone. That's just not what's happening with the Switch 2. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am Nathaniel Rebel Jans from Nintendo Prime, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.